hello. I am Pastor Rhonda, founder of Celebrate Life Cancer Ministry, and we are still running somewhere in the background. There we go. I am Pastor Rhonda, founder. There we go. Say, did I do it? Technical difficulties everywhere. So I am Pastor Rhonda, the founder of Celebrate Life Cancer Ministry and your host for Celebrate Life today. We are here in the month of October celebrating breast cancer awareness. And surely I would like to salute all breast cancer survivors today. Whether you are just beginning the journey, you're dead smack in the middle of the journey, or you're a thriver survivor, we salute you today. But we also want to pause for just a moment because we realize that while some are celebrating, some hearts are broken, and we want to remember those who have earned their wings. So as you think about those in your life that you know, think about them in a very pleasant, happy way, but know that they fought a good fight. And we remember them today. So, today, we're here to talk about stress management and oncology. And I have with me Wendy Gavin Mayo. Hello, Miss Wendy.
Hi, Miss Rhonda. How are you?
Simply marvelous.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here with you today.
Not a problem. And, in the midst of everything that's going on with COVID and life changing and adjustments, and people still being diagnosed with cancer and going through the oncology journey, stress management is truly something that we need to talk a lot about. And I think we need to talk a lot about it because while we know it, we don't always do it. So hopefully today we can learn a couple of easy little things that we could do even in the midst of it all. So why don't I just turn it over to you and let's get this conversation rolling.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. My name is Wendy Gavin Mayo. I am a nurse practitioner. I work in oncology. I'm also a stress solution strategist. And the reason I am a stress solution strategist because I help caregivers, cancer caregivers, which are, formal caregivers, and then informal caregivers, which are healthcare providers, learn strategies on managing their stress. Now, we all know life is stressful outside of cancer.
Yes.
And many times in our lives, we don't plan our cancer journeys, right? Many times you go to the doctor one way and you walk out the room another way when you hear the C word, as people say, or cancer. And the reason that happens is because there's a shift that happens. Once you hear those words, your life, in your mind, your perception of your life is not the same. And many times people believe you hear the word cancer, it means death, which, nowadays that is not true, but that does not change the perception.
Yes.
And our perception is our reality. And many times, the patient will get the diagnosis of cancer, but it impacts everyone involved, whether it's a spouse, whether it's children, whether it's friends. Because like I said, it creates a shift and it's like, who am I now? And, we all have a perception of who we are. Then there's a perception of who we really are. And there's a perception of, who people perceive us to be. So I always think it's interesting, when, I work with cancer caregivers and cancer patients, it's that identity of who am I now with cancer. So kind of reclaiming that. And that's where the stress comes in because you're kind of in a pickle, so to speak, because you don't know where to turn because you're trying to figure out who I am. How do I relate to everyone, all my different relationships, all my different responsibilities? How do I do it? And you feel kind of helpless. And that's where the stress comes in. And then it's really trying to re-identify yourself, re-identify what you need, who you are, how are you going to move through this? And while you're kind of in this pickle, life is happening around you, right? So you still have your appointments, you still have to go to work, you still have to feed the kid, so all these things are happening, and you're kind of like in this fog or the pickle, like I like to call it. So that pickle is really that stress, right? And what happens with that is if it's not addressed, it can be detrimental to our mental and physical health.
So
And
therefore, that pickle could be either a sweet pickle or a dill pickle.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. No, that is so true. You determine what type of pickle. But, many times, depending on your experience, it could be a sour pickle. And that's okay. That's okay. Many times it could be a sweet pickle. But also when it's a sweet pickle, you have to be careful too, right? Because sweet pickle I think of is there a little denial, right? So
Mm.
really trying to honor what you're feeling, what's happening. That's why I always believe that an outlet is so important. Having someone to talk to. I like to say taking your mask off, where you don't have to be the strong one, be the one that has all the answers. You can just melt and let someone just hold you or just be there for you. So that's
Wow.
go ahead. Yeah.
But when a lot of times as we are launched into our situation, in my case, I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer, stage 3B, my first mammogram, age 40. And when I say I was launched into it, I mean, I went from, oh, I have a doctor's appointment to what? So therefore, I didn't choose it. I was simply inducted and found myself there. And my journey, I went through a year and 15 days of care, treatment, process, whole nine. And it was then that I was able to look back and realize the different stages that I went through and the different and where I was now versus where I was then. And so a lot of times we're in these stressful situations and we don't even know it.
Yeah, because life happens and you continue to go to work, take care of your kids. You just continue life, but it's still there. And what I always tell caregivers is what matters is what's happening at night. When you're laying in bed on your pillow, everyone is sleeping, it's dark. Those thoughts, that's what we need to talk about. Because
Mm,
everyone has them, right? A cancer diagnosis is not something to take lightly. It's a big thing. It is a big thing. But the hardest part is how do you incorporate it into your life and into your roles where it doesn't cause too much disruption, if that makes
right.
sense. And it starts here. It starts up here. So really understanding that one, what you're feeling is okay. But two, the hardest part is reaching out to someone. That's the
Yeah.
hardest part because many times, people before cancer, they're strong, they have it all together, they have all the answers. They may be the caregiver in the family, they may be the one everyone comes to for help or to have their needs met. So when you have a diagnosis of cancer, it's kind of like, oh, well, what do I do now? Who do I go to?
Right.
You may feel
You
like
know,
you don't have anyone.
and I was just talking to someone because I'm a caregiver right now. And I was talking to someone, actually the patient, and I said, "You, where's your list? Where's your list of people that are your support team? So, and is it written down with their phone number? Hopefully you'll have at least five. Everybody doesn't have five. But if you were to have five, have that list, have it handy. And a friend of mine said, yeah, and tape it to the back of your front door." I said, but if you do that, make sure you put it in an envelope so everybody's not looking, somebody coming in and out. You mean I'm not on the list? I'm not one of your five, fave fives. So, but to have it so that one, because when the walls come in, you don't always remember your fave five. You get so overwhelmed that sometimes you don't even know your own name. So it's good to be able to have it available to others, because I most people don't even know who my fave five are. They all think they're in it, right? But when I really look at the first fave five, the first string, who is that? Who is that? And process who they are, because they might be a fave five for going out to the movies, but they might not be a fave five for your health conditions.
I totally agree with that. It's definitely important to know who's in your corner or community, so to speak. And you can do that right now. And that's one of the steps, is really understanding who you're surrounded by,
Right.
who's in your community, who can you reach out to. That's so important when you're talking about stress and a cancer diagnosis. And something else that's also important is figuring out, where is the fear coming from? Is it fear of death?
Mm.
Is it fear of the diagnosis? Did you hear the diagnosis? Do you
That's good.
understand the diagnosis? Do you understand the treatment? Because sometimes when you hear cancer, you don't hear anything else.
Right.
So allowing yourself time to step back and gain an understanding, a comprehensive understanding. And sometimes it takes, pulling someone from your favorite five to come with you to hear. They may hear something different. So that's also important, is to make sure you have an understanding of what's happening.
Exactly. So then once you realize, or because one of the things, and I was so excited. I was somewhere last Sunday, and I heard the person say that at my hospital, in the oncology department where I am, once you get diagnosed with cancer, they set you up with a therapist, or at least give you a referral for one. And what made me so excited about that, I'm a part of Kaiser. And I've been preaching that to Kaiser for 3 years. How come once you're diagnosed with cancer, the next appointment is not to the psychologist? Just to make sure you're okay. And when she said, I said, she made that statement, and I said, "Where are you being treated?" And she said, "Kaiser." I'm like, yes, yes, somebody heard me. So, but to go there so that you can process the thoughts, to see how you feel, to just to see if you have a feeling. Because I'm gonna tell you, I think I was numb for a year and 15 days. I knew what I was. I knew to be on the journey. I knew that I wasn't going to quit. I knew that I trusted my doctors. I knew it. And so all I had to do, in my mind, what I said was, you have a bad cold and you're going to get through this. Because I couldn't equate cancer to anything, right?
Yeah.
So, but I can relate to a bad cold.
Yeah.
So that's how I had to do it. And it wasn't that I was in denial or taking it lightly, but that was how I had to deal with it.
Yeah, that was your process. And that's the thing. Your experience is your experience. And, you were walking in that for, like you said, a year and a half. And that's what you had to take, right? In order to come to terms with what was going on in your life. And in terms of being referred to a social worker, psychologist, psychiatrist, that's something that we as healthcare professionals in oncology need to be better at. We are really good at, diagnosing, treating, providing the support in real time. But it's important that we look at the trajectory of the disease. So what happens when that patient goes home? What happens when that patient's laying in bed at night? And offering the service and offering it multiple times, because each time you go to the visit, you're not the same, right? Like, so I said, the first time you go, you may not even hear anything else but cancer. So being able to, as a healthcare professional, offer that to patients, but also caregivers, right? So I always ask my patients, do you need a support group? And also, does your spouse, does your children, who else lives in your house need support? because it's a holistic approach. And I think, in medicine, we preach holistic approach, but it's not always practiced. And that's another reason it's important to have your village or have an understanding of what's going on, is so you can appropriately advocate for yourself to say, hey, you haven't said anything about a social worker, but I was watching something, or my friend, I'm in a support group, and they said, I should probably see a social worker. Can you refer me? Right. But so sometimes, we don't as healthcare professionals, but patients can also be the advocate, or caregivers can be the advocate for their loved one with cancer, to say, hey, maybe a family therapist, right? Not only just for the patient, because like I said in the beginning, it impacts everyone involved.
You
So
know what? Because even when I was diagnosed, I left the doctor with the diagnosis and went back to work.
mhm.
I was the manager, the director of the department, and clearly I didn't know what I was doing, but I walked in the door and it seemed like all eyes were on me for whatever reason. And didn't have a plan, but I started pointing to my staff and pointing to my office, pointing to my staff and pointing to so everybody came in there. And I told them, I said, what I'm about to go through is going to affect all of you. So because we were a close knit team. And I said, now I need you to know, and I'm telling you all this first so that you will hear what I'm telling you. I want you to know that when one of you starts tripping, it's not going to be because of what you just did. It's going to be as a result of what everybody's going through. So I need you all to support each other extra while we go through this together. And they were like, oh my goodness, what is she about to tell us? And then I reached behind me, I got the box of tissue and I put it in front of me. And I said, I have cancer, but you need to know I'm not dying. And I need you to know that we're in this together. Can I count on you while we go through this together? And I had two men on my team. They began to cry. And the ladies were like, boy, what a way to make us bond. But nonetheless, it's affecting, your neighbors, your co-workers, they're watching how you go through it. And some people choose not to tell, and if you choose not to tell, that's absolutely all right. But you need to know you don't need to go through this alone.
Yes, you bring up a great point about, I love that you were so transparent with your team, because one, they know, and then they could support you right through, like you said, we're all in this together. So I love that. But yeah, a lot of people don't want to tell. And a lot of that has to do with how we are raised, different cultures, right? We don't talk about cancer. We don't talk about health, which is something we need to change.
Yeah.
But yeah, so really, like you said, you don't have to go through it by yourself. And, many times it's kind of uncomfortable because it's something new. It doesn't really feel good. You don't really know who you are, what's happening. It's so many things going on. And that's why it's important to talk to, even your provider,
Yes.
about how can I talk to my family about this? Can I bring them in? Can you help me do this? And I also want to just say that, your doctor or your nurse practitioner who you're seeing in the office, that's not the only people on your team. You have nurse navigators, you have social workers, you have the receptionist at the desk. We are all part of your team. So if you're not comfortable talking to the doctor in the exam room, or the nurse practitioner or the physician's assistant, you can also talk to the nurse, talk to the receptionist. It's a whole team there. So anyone you feel comfortable with can help you navigate the system and help you, get what you want. And I want to just say this. You may not know what you want, right?
Right.
You may not know what you want, but you know how you're feeling. So I always say, how do you feel, right? And then we can explore, what you need. But yeah, you may not know what you want, but you maybe just need a hug. Because sometimes I just hug patients, and they break down. But sometimes you
Yeah.
just need that touch of like it's going to be okay in this moment. It's okay, Um, but then some people, are not huggers. So it's kind of like you're dealing with so much. But I think you said it, Pastor Rhonda, you are not in this alone. You do not have to do this alone. You do not have to do it alone. And that's one reason why, I started, the Organization for Cancer Caregivers, because I mean, their impact, there's research out there that shows, their mental and physical health is impacted just like the patients, which we don't really talk about, we don't really address. Um, so yeah.
Because, as a caregiver, being an active caregiver for a family member right now, I'm living two lives. Like, oh my goodness, my Sundays look like this now. My Wednesdays look like that. And even though they're in a facility, they don't like the food, but they have to eat. So I'm worrying about making sure they get something delivered. And I thought that was amazing that you could have food DoorDash, Postmate, Grubhub to the hospital. Can you imagine? So your family doesn't, well, but make sure you follow their nutritional guidelines under the doctor. But they can eat whatever they want that fits into that category. I was amazed by that. Sorry, digress. But I'm living two lives, having to juggle. I'm, as a person only concerned about themselves on a daily basis, and to have someone else incorporated into the process has been rewarding but exhausting.
I,
And that is just puts a whole lot on the shoulders. And one thing I realized is I am not relaxing. I might be sitting here now for the camera, but I'm just always, every now and then I'm like, are you breathing? And then the shoulders come down, and then I can relax, and then I just do it on purpose and stretch it out, and then come back to center so that I can continue to work or do whatever. So yeah, that is, caregiving is not an easy task.
You are right about that. And you bring up a really good point. So I always talk about creating time and space for yourself. So just like you had an appointment on your calendar, I always say give yourself 3 to 5 minutes where you can breathe and process. If you don't give yourself that time and space, it's not just going to magically appear until you have an ache or pain or a headache, or you start um, physically manifesting your stress. But if you can't do that, if you feel like you can't give yourself 3 to 5 minutes, the time and space to process and breathe, I always say couple it with something you do every day. So getting up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, you take a shower every day. What are you doing in that time? That's a time to slow down your mind, take a deep breath, reset. But find a time during the day where you do this thing every day. You get ready for bed every day. Are you brushing your teeth? Are you showering? Are you taking a bath? But make that your time where you kind of reset and you just relax. Because when you're relaxed and you create the space to think, you're able to make better decisions for you and your loved one. Right. And it just creates gaps and you're able to process. We don't process because we're constantly just going, which just
Right.
creates more stress. And we're on the wheel. We're just on the wheel. We got to stop the wheel at some point and just gain perspective on things. So that's really important. What you said is that, you consciously, but yes, make it conscious, put it in your schedule, set an alarm, whatever you have to do, in the shower, put a reminder on your phone, in the bathroom, put a post-it, this is my time when you get in that shower to just let the water hit you, breathe in, breathe out. Very simple, deep breaths, And one thing I always tell people is when you're breathing in, breathe in calm relaxation, breathe out tension. Just think about it. It just relaxes you instantly. So yeah, that is something that it's very powerful. Is creating that time and space for yourself.
So, do you have any tools or suggestions other than the one you just did? Because when I like to breathe, even when I start my meetings, like right now, I have some essential oils, just carrying around along in the house. Um, so, do you have any tips that you could share with us on something we could do?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is figure out what works for you. because there's a lot of things in regards to stress management. We all know them, right? Meditation, yoga, but figure out what works for you. And I would say have an open mind. So growth mindset, be open-minded to try new things. So one thing I always tell people, which is very easy to remember, and this is just a thought process, 'cause everything starts with the mind. And the acronym is STOP. And this is something I personally use in my life. And the S is for stop, literally. Stop, slow down. The second one is T for think. Think about, what am I doing? Why am I stressed? Is it something I can control? Is it something I can't control? Do I need to reach out to someone? But take that time to think. The O is for options. What are your options? What can you do? What can you do now, right? Not tomorrow, but what can you do right now? Can you take a break? Can you go for a walk? Can you meditate? Can you listen to some music? Again, what are your options to help? And then the P is to proceed. So you move on while you're implementing those options that you just went through. But that stop method is so powerful because it makes you create time and space for yourself to figure out what's going on. And it can be filled with anything. But I always just say create some sort of routine, 3 to 5 minutes a day, 3 to 5 minutes a day. I challenge you, 3 to 5 minutes a day. Just give yourself that time and space to just breathe or just, apply the stop method. And you can do it at any time, even if nothing's bothering you, right? Because you may stop, think like, oh, I'm feeling great, right? What are your options? I want to continue this, right? I want to continue this feeling. And then you just proceed. But that is such a powerful method in terms of, managing your stress. And we all know, exercising, definitely helps with stress. Getting enough sleep definitely helps with stress. Yoga is I love yoga. Yoga, resets me. But I think it's also important to figure out what resets you. Many times we're so stressed, we don't even remember, right?
Oh my. Yes, indeed. So, so it says STOP as in Peter.
P, yes, stop.
STO as a stop sign. Yes, indeed, Sharice. so, so when, and I think we need to when you said think in the thinking department is also brings in being aware. Like, are you squeezing your toes while you're sitting at the computer? Even when you're driving, finding opportunities. Yes, Sharice is with the P. Finding opportunity, spaces where you are tense and don't know it. Somebody says, why do you have that frown on your face? Like, let me undo my face. Like I didn't know I was frowning. But we get so deeply involved in whatever we're doing that we just need to breathe.
Yeah.
Just breathe. And we find ourselves holding our breath, and for what? What I often try to figure out, when did I start? How long have I been in this posture of not of holding my breath while I was doing anything? You know, um, I don't know. There's just so, even when I lay down sometimes my world has been so occupied with stuff that
Mm-hmm.
I'm just happy to lay down, but I'm not even relaxed.
Yeah, another strategy is brain dumping. So some people may call it journaling. When you hear journaling, you think of paragraphs. But what I always suggest is it doesn't even have to be a book, a piece of paper, a pen, pencil, not your phone, a pen, pencil, a piece of paper, and just write down what's going through your mind. Like you can list it, just list it and set your timer for a minute or whatever, but just list. And what that does is it gives you distance between what's in your head and what you're going through. It creates some distance because right now it's all internal. You're all pinned up. But when you release it on paper, it's so powerful. So
Mhm.
powerful. And another strategy is, being part of a community, whether it's a cancer patient community or a cancer caregiver community. Because in there, you may be like, oh, I never thought of that, right? So even if you're just in there kind of seeing benefit or suggestions they're providing, it may be things like, oh, I can try that. I never thought of that, but it gives you new ideas. And if you want to put something out there, someone's like, oh, I had that same experience and this is what helped me. But again, that goes into the whole growth mindset, being open to it, opening yourself up to trying something new.
Yeah. I often I have to remind cancer survivors that they need to find someone in their circle to do the things that need to be done. Because while you're going through the stress of the unknown, of what's next, what's tomorrow, how am I getting ready to feel in a few minutes because I've had treatment this week, find someone to help do those things that one you may not like to do, but still need to be done, or that they enjoy doing, because the people around us want to contribute to our healing and they don't know how. But if you know that Anita loves to cook, let her cook a couple times a week. If someone likes to clean, let them come and maybe handle the bathroom, and maybe not your office, but maybe the public areas. Let them come and clean. If someone is like me and really doesn't like to do any of those handy dandy things, but they like to just be with you, let me come and sit there. But put it on a calendar, put it on a schedule so they don't overstay their welcome. Again, you're choosing people that are supportive in your healing journey, right? So whatever people are good at, give them that assignment and let them do it. Somebody was my driver, somebody cleaned my room, somebody did the cooking, somebody did the cleaning, somebody took the laundry and then picked it up, the grocery shopping. One person that have to do everything. When you break up those tasks like that, it helps so much. When my family was caring for my uncle who was in hospice, we had a cook, we had an intimate person, and we had a financial person, and we had a handy person. So those four people were on the daily team, and nobody ever got in each other's way. But I have seen where the caregivers were like trampling over each other, trying to be so helpful, and that in itself can bring about additional stress. So when somebody sees that going on, somebody needs to step back and do an analysis and say, okay, this person did this most of the time, so let's give that assignment to them. This person did that, this person, and spread it out to eliminate the stress on the support team, on the village. Amen. Woo.
Amen to that.
Like, because there's a movie called Why I Wore Lipstick to My Mastectomy. If you haven't seen that movie, it ran on Lifetime. It's on YouTube or somewhere online. You can see it. But in there, it was the role of the patient, her best friends, her husband, her parents, her brother, the doctors, her boss, and angels. I'm just going to call them angels, that she met along the way. And it showed the dynamic of all of those people and how they affected her life. And if some more folks need to see that movie and find themselves so they can stop doing some things that they think are helping, or just be aware, because what we're doing in our effort of being helpful can be causing stress on another.
Absolutely. Absolutely. While you were talking, I'm thinking of allocation of energy. So,
Mm-hmm.
when you are diagnosed with cancer, or someone in your family is diagnosed with cancer, you have to reallocate your energy, right? So your routine is different. And I think what causes the stress is people they want to do everything they were doing before, right? So being open to bringing in that village and, like you said, making a list of, what can you do? What can you do? What can you do? And knowing that, I always just say, as humans, it's all about connection. We're
Yes.
not in this world, by ourselves. So, even though you may be diagnosed with cancer or your loved one has cancer, you still just need to be connected. Connected and support is what comes to mind. Because at a human level, we all have emotions. We all have an understanding, right, of what you may be going through. Maybe not to the details, not the details of what you're going through, but can relate,
Yes.
So that connection is so essential. But allowing people to come in, allowing someone to hug you and love on you because you deserve it, right? So just being open to that is very important.
My. So I would want to lend an opportunity for those that are watching. If you have questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box, and we can address those questions as well. Um, but when we think about stress management, it's key to understanding the second word because we understand the first word, but we want to talk about managing because it's going to come. There's good stress and there's not so good stress. And but the key is understanding that I need to manage it when it gets out of control. Because there was a day that I felt out of control. I didn't. No one did anything to me. I don't even remember what happened. It could have just been the medication because the medication can put you in situations. It's
Oh yeah.
in it. What do we want to call it? Can cause you to feel a certain way. I had never experienced what they call PMS, but I felt something when this one particular round of chemo that I was on my last nerve, and no one did anything to me, and I couldn't get out of it. And I had my hospital posse there with me, but I had to ask everyone to leave because I was aware enough to know I was about to make someone angry. And I had no control and I couldn't fix it. So I just wanted to go to sleep and sleep through whatever this is. But some people don't know what it is. They act out, they lash out, and one of my siblings I was talking to the other day, and they're like, I don't understand how our sibling is tripping. Am I supposed to respond to that? And I said, the sick person only had all their only task is to realize who's not doing something for them because their whole life has stopped. They're in a facility, they're in the bed, they only go to doctor's appointments, they don't go to work anymore, they don't this, and all they know is they have a need and somebody is not meeting it. So how we as the caregiver have to understand and eliminate the stress for the patient by understanding. The Bible tells us to seek first to understand rather than be understood. This is not about me, the caregiver. Right now, this moment is about the patient. So that's another way to help relieve some of the stress and the tension in this process. But managing it comes with awareness.
Yes, I love what you said about just really understanding what you need. So being aware, what do you need, and then honoring that. And another C word I like is communication. Being able
Yeah.
to communicate what you need, right? So I like the C word of even collaboration, right? So even who do you need to collaborate with? Because maybe you don't feel right telling people that you need them to leave. So you have maybe your right hand to say, I really just need this room to be clear right now. I need my house to, and they could do that. They can advocate for you,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So really understanding what you need and honoring that. And in terms of management, it's what feels good to you. And many times we are all just stressed and we don't understand, but trying different things. And I always say that the first thing to do that is very simple is kind of sitting by yourself with your thoughts and taking a couple of deep breaths, because even those deep breaths is going to reduce your stress. But just think about it. What do I need? What do I need? Because if you ask yourself that, you are going to know what you need. And then it's like, how do I honor that? Can you honor that on your own? Do you need to pull someone else in? But what is it that you need to feel good, to feel full, to reconnect to your purpose? I love talking about purpose. And when you were diagnosed with cancer, you still have purpose. You still have purpose, right? So just, honoring that, and also being okay with that it changes. Today you may need this, tomorrow you may need that, the next day you may not know what you need, and that's okay. So
And let other people change.
yes.
We can change, but you can't change. Not fair. Not fair. Give other people the opportunity to change. Life for them is moving right along with yours, maybe not at the same pace, but it's still moving.
Yes, no, definitely. And I just want everyone, who's listening or watching to know that you have the power to manage your stress, to manage your life. You have the power to do this. You can do this. I know you can do this. So you definitely have the power. I know sometimes you feel helpless, you feel like you can't, you're not sure. That's when you reach out. When you say, I don't know, I'm not sure, reach out and let someone walk with you on the journey, whether
Yeah.
you're a cancer patient or a cancer caregiver.
So, Wendy, can you tell us about your organization?
Yes. So, Shape Partners, it is an organization that provides resources, education, coaching to cancer caregivers, all free of service. So anything you need, we provide. If you need, service for your kids that we don't provide, we'll make sure we connect you with someone who can provide that service. If you need to talk to a counselor, we can provide that service for you. We had a caregiver the other day, her husband's on hospice and dying, and she just couldn't clean her house. And we know how important your environment is. But, providing her with that service to get you know, uh, a couple of services to, clean her space for her, but we do anything we can to help cancer caregivers thrive. If you need services for your loved one, we can help you with that as well. So that is my organization called Shape Partners. And yeah, we have a little community on Facebook. We have a website. So we are just here to just provide help and serve. And that's really what we do at the end of the day, is really just serve cancer caregivers.
So now you're actually located where, and are your services virtual?
Yeah, so I'm located in Connecticut, and my service are all virtual. With the pandemic, everything's online, so it doesn't matter where you are. We can definitely, provide you with services. We'll try our best to, be with you on the journey and provide you with what you need.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, this has been a great conversation. Is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
I will just leave you with that you have the power to change the trajectory of your life at any time of day. You are still very powerful, and you do not have to do anything alone. Whether you have cancer or not, we are a community of people. We need to be connected. We need to collaborate. We need to communicate to make sure that we are whole. So I'll leave you with that. So reach out if you need any support or any services, or just need someone to talk to. We're here for you.
Amen. Amen. And if I can just do this. Oh, not that one. Nope. I'm sorry. Uh-oh. There we go. So if anyone needs to reach out to celebrate life today, to reach me directly, feel free to give me a call at 323-577-5443, or send us an email at celebratelifetoday 2021 at gmail.com. It has truly been a blessing to have you here with us, Wendy. Um, see, what did she say? She said, "Oh, my daughter is starting a job with USC. They offer resources to caregivers. I'm going to tell her to look you up." Yay!
Love it.
So it's truly been a blessing to have you here and to get us talking about it. Stir up the conversation that encourages us to um, to take care of ourselves, to put self care first.
Absolutely.
So, and we have an event coming up here in LA. We're doing a breast cancer awareness cruise by parade. That's what I'm calling it. So, we're encouraging cancer survivors, caregivers, and the community to come on out and just drive through. Wear your pink, wave your flags. We're going to start at 1 o'clock at Crenshaw and Imperial will be the holding area. And there will be a motorcycle club over there. So join in with the motorcycle club and caravan right across the street. It's not far from there. And at 109th and Wilkie will be the beginning. We're gonna launch it with a drum line, and the first vehicle behind the drum line will be a pink motorcycle driven by a woman. So we invite you all to come over and to be a part of that. You can be on the sideline. Masks are required. Masks are required. It is outside, but masks are required. So come on over. If you're not in the parade itself, then hang out with us on the sidewalk. It is a fundraiser, and you can meet us online at celebratelifecm.org and make a donation there and it will help us to support the individuals going through cancer, as well as the caregiver and the family, depending on what the needs are. We're also preparing gifts to children with cancer. Our goal is to provide gift cards to the families, $50 gift cards. We have 30 different beds. So we're looking to provide that because during these COVID times, we usually make it like Christmas in July. But now, because the guidelines are slightly different, we still want to be a blessing to the children and their families. With the guidelines changing, the children aren't able to see all of their siblings like they used to, um, and they're not able to have both parents all the time. So whatever you can do to support us as we give to that would be awesome as well. So as we come to the end of our show, we want to remind everyone that no matter what you do, we want to make sure that you choose life. Until next time, bye now.